nervous system. So, okay. Oh, I wrote unstuck part 2, but that must have been my other one. Okay. So this is unstuck part 2, and what we will discuss with this one is just how do you get unstuck. I also want to bring in, where does stuckness land on the nervous system level? So I always bring in the nervous system. At the top, we've got ventral vagal activation. That's when we're grounded. We feel hopeful. We know we're on track. We are confident, and we know what we want generally when we're in that space. And then we come into a fight-flight space when we lose confidence somewhere along the way. Maybe we start to think about all the things that can go wrong, the what ifs, and we catastrophize. There's something that would have activated that in our system. Maybe some doubt came up. Maybe something was hard, and we then started falling into like a bit of a heap. Whatever it is, we then go into fight-flight, which is what I just mentioned, and then we can go into a shutdown, which is where we get stuck. That's our stuck feeling. That's generally also procrastination lives there as well. So it takes a bit for us to get to that point, but what can happen is we can sort of go between fight, flight, and shutdown, dorsal activation. We can go between these two because we're trying to get unstuck, but when we don't find the thing that gets us unstuck and we're back up to at fight flight again, we then go back down to shutdown, which then keeps us stuck, and we lose trust in ourselves and trust in our decision making. So that's that. Does that resonate with you, Belinda?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let me know if there's any... Yeah.
That's just like a constant cycle.
It's a constant cycle. So what happens when we're feeling stuck? We'll go back to our coping mechanism. We'll go... So for example, for me, my coping mechanism in the past, and I know when it comes up too, is I will want to do something that's outside my comfort zone. And if it's hard, I will go into a shutdown response. And then to get out of that, I'll go do something adventurous and fun. So that's one of mine, because I'm like, I just want to have fun. And that's like my part of me that's like, I don't want responsibility. I just want to have fun. And now that's a good coping mechanism to have because it's not that unhealthy. However, it's also stopping me from growing my business. So in order for me to come out of that stuckness, I really needed to start to build my resilience and my ability to stick to what I planned. So I had to really sit in that discomfort of this might not work out. I might be judged by someone if I do this, and work through that sort of stuff to be able to get to the other side of creating the success that I want. And then also having fun and taking care of that part of myself that really wants to have fun and adventure at the same time. So that could be an example of it. Another example can be feeling stuck. So people can use alcohol, they can use work, different substances to get unstuck, to lift them back up, to make life more exciting. So that can also happen as well. Shopping can be another one. Scrolling on Facebook can be another one. So just zoom in on this. So I covered this a little last week. Just wanted to zoom in on our thinking when we're in these different states. So I'm on the right track. Generally is when we're up the top. We back ourselves, all that sort of thing. When we come into more fight flight, that's when we can really we want to fix things straight away. We want progress, like we become impatient as well. We can feel scared of the future if we don't know what the future holds, if there's lots of uncertainties. So there's different things in there. We can also like blame others in this space too, like justify why we're not doing a certain thing. That's a common thing to do as well. And then down here in shutdown, the thinking and the stuckness, usually it's like, I have no choice. I have no time. I have no money to spend on this, or like it's generally like it feels we focus on what we don't have and we can't see what we have. A lot of the time when we're stuck, it's really hard to see what sort of resources we have. And we can also have really jaded thinking as well. So our thinking can be negative about, mainly down at the bottom, it's about ourselves. That person can do it, but I can't do that. I'll never succeed. I'll probably fail at it anyway. People will make fun of me. So we can really go into self-loathing, self-pity. It can feel like it just pushes us further into that stuckness as well. We don't choose to be stuck. No one in this world wants to be stuck. The choice that we have here is to know what our thinking is like in these spaces and to not attach to it. So I will get to that. So last week I spoke about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So when we've got a goal, it's super important to have intrinsic motivation and extrinsic. So it's like the inner world and the outer world. Often when we go for goals, we're looking at the outer world. We're really hyper-focused on the outer world. I want to buy the house. I want the career. I want the fitness goals. I want these things. But we think that's going to make us happy, and we can achieve those things and then realize that we don't feel a sense of happiness or fulfillment still. And so that's why when I create goals with my clients, it's about what are the intrinsic motivators? How will it make you feel? What sort of support do you have around you to support your nervous system? What's your energy levels like? What are your values? What are your boundaries? So we're really looking at the inner intrinsic motivators that we have, that we actually function more from our intrinsic than what we do from the extrinsic. So what I mean by that is if we've got belief systems or needs that are unmet, it will make the extrinsic goal really difficult to achieve. So the successful business, the health goals, all that sort of stuff will become really difficult if we don't look at our intrinsic motivators. Yeah. So underneath our fear are limiting beliefs and negative thoughts about ourselves and others. And these are our signals that we're feeling fear and stress. So this is something I really emphasize in the work that I do, because what can happen is our fear that's like when people talk about self-sabotage. What it really is the fear is trying to protect us from being judged, being hurt, being in pain, being in discomfort. And so it's kind of like when we go bungee jumping, we still have fear, but the support and the safety we have is that, the people that own the business, we know that they're reputable, they've got the ropes that are attached, and they've got probably like 3 ropes. So if one breaks, the other one will help out, and you won't fall, you won't hurt yourself. So that's kind of like what you want to do with the fear, is that you want to look at the fear as a signal that there's a need there, a safety need there to help you feel secure to go do the thing that you want to do. So then the limiting beliefs and the thought processes are not so loud, because they do tend to get loud when we do something out of our comfort zone. So when we feel overwhelmed, it gets even louder, and when we lack confidence. And what I mean by this, it will go from fight, flight, so it will be real like, I've just got to get this done now, I've got to complete this, it needs to be fixed right now. We get impatient, and that will get louder, and it will project out. So it'll be like, oh, the person, maybe that will project it onto our therapist, our coach, the person we work with, our boss, will project it out to them like they're the problem. And sometimes they can be the problem, but generally if we haven't had problems with them in the past and it comes up like this, I like to kind of dig deeper into like what's going on for me where I'm angry with them or upset with them. And then so when we have like the overwhelm, and lack the confidence, and the feeling gets even worse, we go into a shutdown. So overwhelm generally is more shut down, and that's when it will be like, you were never going to achieve that anyway. Look, you're already messed up. You can't get it right. You're going to fail. People are going to judge you. Who do you think you are? So generally it gets like more self-blame when we go into more of a shutdown. And these voices get really loud when we're doing something outside our comfort, and it tries to stop you from achieving it. So trauma, and any relational trauma also growing up, this is why it's difficult for many people who have had trauma to achieve their goals and to step into something different, something new. It originated from our caregivers. So we felt unsafe emotionally when we were out exploring. So exploration when we're young can be starting a sport, can be starting a new job, can be walking when we're little. Anything where we're learning something new and we're exploring. Maybe we're exploring with other kids on a playground. So anything where it's just out of our comfort zone. If we didn't have caregivers that supported that, encouraged that, and were grounded and secure within themselves, and they were more critical, and that's how they got you to do things, by criticizing you into doing them, then when it comes to us exploring our own individuation, so our own individual strengths, what we want to do, maybe it's like something completely different to other people, like a business if we wanted to start up. Maybe we've been encouraged to be in academia and we want to be a writer. And so doing that can be really difficult as well. It's because we've got an inner critic, or we've also adopted our caregiver's nervous system, which means if they were really anxious and scared themselves, then that is going to be something that we will need to work through when we're older, because we have absorbed that. And so that's why it can be so difficult to try something new, whether it's work, business, whatever it is. I've got an example here around that. It's our survival mode when we make decisions. So an example of this is the fawn response. Fawn lives in shutdown, so it's at the bottom of that ladder, and it's when we people please and self-abandon. We do this for survival, and we did this when we were young. When we do this, we lose trust with ourselves, because we're actually making decisions and meeting other people's needs, but we're not meeting our own needs. So if you are in a career, in a relationship, or in a friendship sporting community where you do so much for everyone else and you forget about yourself, you will feel really heavy and resentful. And that's where we're out of alignment with what we're doing. So within that, it might be, I really love doing that thing, but I need to implement some boundaries to support myself. Or it might be, I don't think I really love that thing. I've just been doing it because it gives me a sense of purpose or support, but it's not really aligned. It doesn't nourish me. It doesn't fill me up, but it gives me something to do. So that's where we're out of alignment with it. So before doing those big things, I always think like going to study at a course, or, you know, even getting unstuck. So what does that mean? Taking the leap to do something different. Before doing any of that, I really encourage people to, I'll just let Mandy in, to do the inner work before doing that, because that inner work is going to support you to understand your motivation, your values, your emotions, your fears behind it. That's where you can create a plan in more of an alignment with what you want to be doing. So I say do the intrinsic work and then move into the extrinsic work. So that's more the goal-based stuff. The intrinsic is more like, okay, what are my needs? What are my boundaries here in this space? What nourishes me? What gives me energy? Those sort of things. And this is why I'm like, get support from a therapist or a coach who specializes in this, because that's what they do, the inner work. That's what the inner work means. Okay, next up, it's understanding the differences between your fear and your intuition. This takes practice, and that's what I do in the therapy work that I do. It's because when we make decisions based on fear, which I spoke about before, and can we go back to that slide? The self-abandonment piece there. So when we make decisions based on form, people pleasing, that's a fear response. And with that fear response, what is actually happening is we're not getting the outcome we want. That's an example of making decisions based on fear. We know if we make decisions based on fear, we know that we're doing it because we won't get the outcome that we want. There'll be a misalignment in the outcome. And then again, we'll have less trust for ourselves because we've made a decision and it didn't work out. So that's why I'm often like doing the inner work can be working with the resistance that comes up. So the part of us that's fearful is so important to listen to and hear that part and understand that part so we don't bulldoze through and leave it behind. We want to bring the fear as well as what's my growth telling me? Like, what do I want to do that gives me growth and helps me evolve? We want both, to work with both. So intuition is generally you'll come up with an idea, you'll be excited about that idea, and for a moment it will last for like it can last for a day or two, or it might last for a moment, and then boom, the fear comes in. And it might go, you can't afford it. Who do you think you are that you could do that? You're not smart enough. You need to study more, and it will overwhelm your nervous system. It will make you feel overwhelmed, and then you'll just go, what's the point? Nah, not doing it anyway. Or you might do it and be feeling resistance, so it might feel really exhausting to do. So that's why the intuition part, it's important to listen to, because it's also like the fear has wisdom in it as well. It's like holding two things. The excitement and fear both have wisdom in it as well. So when you combine the inner work with the extrinsic goal, then it's important to back yourself. I remember when I was stuck, I called up a friend who was in business and coaching, and she gave me permission to step forward and back myself. And I didn't realize I needed that from her, but for some reason I did, and it really helped me back myself. Now, this is one of the most important things for us to do, is to fully commit to the change. Once you've done that, you know you've got a belief that you can have more. You feel like, okay, there's more for me out there. I always say, and I've said this at the end, if I got to where I am today, I can get to where I want to be. It just means that I need to bring in the resources. I need to bring in the finances, the energy, the time, and create space for it to back myself. This takes some belief, some self-belief that I can have more, and that it's something that I can have. It's not the other people out there who, they can do it and I can't do it. That's when we think that way. So if we're thinking from a place of, oh, they can do it, but I can't do it. Well, who do I think I am? That's actually our nervous system in survival mode, and it's in a shutdown response. It's so I'm already feeling on a physiological level. So my nervous system, my body is feeling insecure. So my thoughts are going to attach to that insecurity, and they'll say, yep, you're right, you can't do it. So how do I back myself? Bringing more grounding practices in. And when you start thinking about the decision you want to make to get unstuck, notice your thinking when you are feeling grounded, happy, energetic, optimistic. Notice what the difference is in your thinking. So then I've got here, invest in your future self. So often when we're younger, we do this without even thinking. We go to university, we spend lots of money there, we will do the courses, we'll step into the stepping stone. So I was talking about like, what's the stepping stone? It might be like when I was young, I worked at a pub. I wouldn't do that now because I've got more skills, I've got more resources. So if I wasn't where I am today, I would be using stepping stones in the skills that I've attained to get to where I want to be. So the stepping stone might not be the thing that you want, the goal that you want to achieve, but what it will be is it will help you get there. That's super important in this space. All of us have resources in Australia. We are so super lucky we live in a country like Australia. It's just how we perceive that resource. So like, do we feel guilty by asking for a loan? Do we feel guilty for getting government funding? Do we feel shame around that? I've got partners support there. Oh no, I've got parents and partners support. So do we have parents that can support us financially? People have that. That's a resource. Many people can look, judge that. Do we have partners that can support us emotionally or financially, or practically? Some of us don't, some of us do. So it's what sort of resources do you have that can help you invest in your future? Because that's backing yourself. Do you have time? Maybe you're not in work at the moment. So what a great resource is the internet. I've got time. I can get online and start learning all the things that I want to learn about the things that I want to move into. So this is what I would encourage around that space. And believe you can have more. I've mentioned that. Absolutely, we can have more. There's no reason why someone else can have it and you can't. The only thing is internalize when we were younger how we were treated. If we start to not believe those thoughts and bring in these other thoughts around, I can actually have more in my life, I can go for what I want, then we start to shift that belief system that I can't. There's more work in this in terms of somatic work and body work, and that's what I do. That's the intrinsic work that I do that I've spoke about. So yeah, if you got to where you are today, you can get to where you want to be with drive, determination, and consistency, and willingness to get uncomfortable. Drive, determination, consistency lives more up the top of the ladder. I totally get that when we're stuck, we can feel the opposite to this. So this is on the other side of being stuck. But what I know is when we're stuck, we can have glimmers. We can have these little glimmers that tell us, oh, you can do this, that give us a little bit of motivation. And that's the glimmers of what we really want to take. So you both had a glimmer to come onto this call and to come out of stuckness. Coming onto this call means you're not stuck. It means there's a part of you that might be stuck in your life, but you've got a part of you that is observing and is like, you know what, I'm curious, which lives more up the top of the ladder of your nervous system. I'm curious and I'm going to come onto this call and see what I can learn to get unstuck. So that curiosity is really great. So that's just some packages that I have that you might have got in the email if you would like to work with me. But what I'll do is move on to, I will move on to coaching. Now that you've got all that information, let me have a look. Hi, Mandy, welcome. I'm just going to have a look at notes to see.
I'll just be one sec, Thelma.
Yeah, no worries. Let me know if you've got any questions. You can type them into the comments. Mandy, I'm just looking up to see your question that you put in. Just having a look here. Did you send in a question, Mandy? Oh, here we go. Bye. Yeah, if you want to pop in the comments if you sent in a question. I might have seen, oh, you did. Burnout, anxiety, caring for my granddaughter. There we go. Yeah, you don't have to be coached. I can just answer that question if you like. Okay. Okay. You're welcome. So, Belinda, do you have any questions from that?
I'm sort of more trying to investigate more how body aches like why my anxiety is happening, and then how that's linking with certain, like my neck killing me, my head killing me, like being aching and all that kind of stuff. Because I when I was on holidays, I was fine. I was having the best time, didn't have headaches, didn't have neck pain, nothing. And then with about 4 days till coming home, I just woke up one morning and my neck was killing me and my headache had started again. And instantly I knew I was getting anxious about coming home. And
okay. I'm going to ask you some direct questions, just so because we're on a time thing, and we'll see where we get to. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So when you said you felt anxiety, what were you feeling anxiety about?
Just coming home and having responsibility again.
Yeah.
And feeling like,
yeah.
And just feeling like, because like my husband hasn't been working for 12 months, and then just feeling like all the burden is on me. Yeah.
So you felt the pressure of all of it coming onto you.
Yeah, and even like the whole holiday, I just had to make all the decisions, and I was just exhausted. I just get exhausted from it all.
Yes.
But then it just really built up when I knew that I had to come home when I would have even more responsibility. Because like, you know, when you're on holidays, it's not too much of a big deal. You're getting fed, you know, everything's sort of taken care of. But then it's, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Big. So what does that tell you about your fear, that you fear that, like, what did it tell you about your fear? Was that, what was your thinking around it?
Well, it's all the uncertainty of the future. Because I've gone into a career where I'm sort of starting at the bottom again, and having to build my way up and learn new things. So it's going to take a little while before I'm earning the money that I'd like to be earning. And I just feel there's just so much pressure, like, because I want to keep living the lifestyle I want to live, but it's sort of like that's hard as well. Yeah, only one of us is working.
I'm wondering what your thought process is around, I'm taking all the responsibility, I make the decisions, I'm leading the way, and it's a lot. Like, what comes up for you around that?
Well, it used to be that's the way I wanted it, but now it's just like I don't want to be like that anymore.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah. And so when you say I don't want to be like that anymore, what then?
I just want it to be more even, like an even spread of, you know, parenting and
yes.
Yeah.
And so with that evenness, what does the part of you say that says you can't have that? If you were to give it a voice, what would it say?
Oh, you're weak.
Just get it done. You're weak.
Yeah.
What else would it say?
Just if it is to be, it's up to me. Like, yeah.
Yeah, if you want this, then it's all up to you. You've got to do this, right? Anything else? Like anything else that it says to you?
It's your responsibility to take care of everyone.
Your responsibility to take care of everyone. And with that, whose voice does it sound like? If you were to put
Oh, my mum. Yeah.
Okay, lots of energy in that. So that's see how that is an internalization, right, of what you were taught by your mum. Just get on with it. You've got to just take responsibility for this, right?
Yeah.
How does that land?
Yeah, and I never sort of, until you said that now, I never sort of realized that was where the voice was coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just like
Yeah,
not
and
your.
it was like, oh, um, like women are strong. You don't need to worry about anyone else taking care of you. You need to be independent. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, there's gifts in that, right? Like you can take care of yourself, right? You're good to go in that space. But what can happen is that you take on all the responsibility. Then you become
Mm.
the leader, and then it's all on your shoulders. Tension, right? Lots of tension in the body because it's all up to you to do it. And then you've got this voice. It's like, yeah, it's your responsibility. Just get it done. So if you follow the voice, like let's say, because that's what's been happening, right? We haven't known that it was there. If you follow the voice, what happens? What happens if you followed the voice?
Well, I keep feeling ill. That's what's happening. Yeah.
Hey, so your body's shutting down. It's like
Mm.
slowing you down. It's like, hey, Nana, we over here, we need you to listen. We need you to
Mm.
listen. So it's like, so your body's doing it on a subconscious level. Okay, yeah, big. So what would happen if you handed over some of the responsibility?
Well, I've been trying that, and Aaron just keeps saying to me, just give me time. I'm not ready to go back to work. I want to find something that I really want to do. I don't just want to get another 9 to 5, or not 9 to 5 job, but stuck in a job that I don't like. And he keeps saying, financially, we're okay.
Okay, and
Don't worry, don't worry about it.
Is that
For
true?
a few months, yeah.
Okay. So there's a part that needs some like security around that to be soothed, but there's also a part that's like, no, we've got to fix this now, right? Like
Mm.
we've got to know
Mm.
where we're going. We've got to know where we're going. And so there's some soothing that needs to happen there too, because there's a part of you that's feeling unsafe with the uncertainty.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if that was it, if you could ask for some soothing in that space, what would it look like? What would it be like?
Well, I don't really know. We've been just chatting about it, and I felt better chatting with him because now I sort of know what he's actually thinking, and what his goals are. So he does have goals. So I have felt a lot better in the past few days since I've sort of opened up and said, this is how I'm feeling. Yeah, so I have felt better in that. And then the other thing I did was, because before I went away on holidays, I was doing the gym flat out every day. And I just decided that's not the space where I need to be at the moment. Like, I need to
Yep.
go back into more yoga, sort of that sort of
Beautiful.
space. Yeah.
Good. Yes. So you're listening to your body. You've got a bit of soothing from I can't remember his name yet.
Aaron.
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 You've got soothing from Aaron and some reassurance. And you might need a little more every now and then. So that could be, okay, every now and then I'm just going to check in with you and I'm going to say, hey, where are you at with your goals? I'm just checking in. It helps me soothe. It helps me know that we're on the right track. And then taking care of your body with yoga. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And so we know
Yeah.
the voice too that comes in and tries to sabotage and protect you from giving over the responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do we do with that part?
I don't know. It's so well, what I did on Sunday was I got my pen and paper out and I just wrote every single thing, because my thoughts were just going very erratic. I just wrote every single thing that just kept coming into my mind. And then once I thought it was all out, I just burnt it. And that seemed to help as well. And then after that, I just set a few little goals for the week. Yeah.
Great.
So that seemed to help.
That's good. That's good. Excellent.
Yeah,
Has this been supportive for you?
absolutely.
Good. Good. What's your takeaway?
That I'm on the right track
Good.
and just keep being curious about what what my body is trying to tell me.
Great. Yeah.
And patient. You got to be patient as well.
The good old patience, huh?
Yeah.
I get it, Belinda. Alrighty, I'm going to move into the space of Mandy. I'm going to answer your question. So burnout. Let's talk about burnout. I'm going to show you that on the nervous system level. This also applies to you, to Belinda, in terms of our body shutting down is burnout. That's a form of burnout. So let's go into this space. Okay, so Mandy, I'm not sure if you've seen my other videos, but I'm really quite passionate about polyvagal theory and the autonomic nervous system. You don't need to know the names. It's just about when we're feeling regulated, calm, grounded, curious, what happens is on a nervous system level, we're in our ventral vagal, we're feeling good, we're feeling light. You know, we all want to be in this space, creative. It's just a really nice space to be in. Then when a stressor comes in, we can go into a fight-flight response. Now, let's say the stressor for you, Mandy, is that maybe because you're taking care of your granddaughter, that you don't have space for yourself and you don't have time for yourself, and you feel a lot of pressure and responsibility to care for another being. So that activation can come in. You might have all these other stresses as well, where it sends us into a fight-flight. And this fight-flight response, what we do here is we work hard. We work really hard in that space. We want to resolve things. We want to fix things. We're on the go. It's kind of like we just haven't got space to breathe. We're wanting to do, but it feels really uncomfortable in the nervous system when we slow down because we've got so much to do. So generally we can go into a fight-flight because we're worrying a lot. There's all these different stages of it. We can feel resentful, we can feel under pressure, and we can feel like we don't have support as well. And that's where we can go into more of a shutdown response. So say we're working so hard and it's like nothing seems to be working in terms of we don't feel like we're getting anywhere. There's no growth, there's no evolution. It just feels like almost like Groundhog Day. We keep doing the same thing and we're just not getting anywhere. What is happening is the body then goes into a shutdown response because it's given up. That's what happens. We give up. What's the point? I can't. It's like I'm exhausted, I'm tired, and I just need to rest, lay in bed, and just soothe my system because it's overwhelmed. So that's kind of what can happen. So we feel really stuck in this fighting really hard. So you might be fighting for your granddaughter, like doing everything for her and not doing much for yourself, not having much time for yourself to nourish yourself. And then we go into shutdown because we're not nourishing ourselves. We go into a burnout. Generally, this is a fawn response. So it's a people pleasing. And in this scenario, it's obviously not something for you, Mandy, that you're doing on purpose. You're actually doing a beautiful act by taking care of your granddaughter, like doing something really amazing. But obviously there needs to be support for you too. So it sounds like if you could have support in that in some way, then you would be able to come a bit more out of the fight, flight and shut down. What can kind of stop us from getting support or meeting our needs is fear and distrust for people, authority, distrust because we've been hurt by others before. So we can have fear around connecting to support, and we can have fear around meeting our own needs as well. This is because we were never taught to do that. We were taught to be strong, kind of like what you were saying, Belinda, too, like be strong, don't be weak, just get on with it. We were taught to push ourselves aside to take care of other people. And so now coming into a space of actually taking care of ourselves, it can feel it can feel uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. It's not a familiar place to be. So if you've got any other comments around that, Mandy, if you've got any other questions, because I know that I've got a little, I did have, so your question was burnout, anxiety, caring for my granddaughter. Okay, yeah, so it makes sense. So the anxiety is up here that you've got in your question, and then you've got so much anxiety that you go down into a burnout and probably feel exhausted in that space. So I really feel for you there. I'm wondering, what is it that you feel like is missing from being there for your daughter? Like, what is there something that you could have? Like, is it support? Is it something that you need that that would support you?
Can you hear me? I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me or not?
No, but I can hear you. You can leave the camera off. It's up to you.
I couldn't work out how to get the camera on, but I'm kind of like trying to eat as well at the same time. So I just walked in the door. Another busy day. So I actually made a decision to go on to long service leave.
Yes.
Because I recognised the signs in myself that I'm everybody's rock and no one's my rock, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I have made that decision, and that will be happening very, very quickly. But then I've got on to half pay, then there brings the financial situation. And I think that when I've got to put myself first. I recognise that, but as you said, trying to do it is probably the hardest thing when I am a fixer, or I try to fix, because that's kind of been my role for a long time. As I said, I'm the rock. So all of a sudden, I don't want to be that rock anymore. So I have made that decision to. I've still got to do stuff, but having the long service leave means I don't have to commit to getting up every day, and I'm trying to learn to just breathe and not get out of bed if I don't need to, lie for an extra half an hour and that sort of stuff.
Yes, yes. And I think it's great that you've made that decision for yourself. And also I hear it when you say, I'm no longer going to be the rock for everyone else, that you're now coming back to yourself. Like, you want to be there for yourself now, which is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I do feel better. It's making the decision sometimes and standing up for your needs, and listening to you, Belinda. I believe you're probably quite similar to me, and possibly in your thoughts or your personality. Like, you haven't really put yourself first, you put your partner first. And maybe that's sort of personality we are, or we've just grown into that situation. It just happens, but you don't realize sometimes how it's happening. But I do think listening to you, and the fight and flight thing, definitely, like, I never used to get anxiety, and all of a sudden I started to get anxiety where I felt my throat was closing up. And I've also taken steps. I've learned bars. I don't know if any of you know about bars, where you've got points on your head, and it's all about, well, it's like a relaxation technique, I suppose.
Oh, great. Yeah. So what can happen with anxiety is that we can actually use coping mechanisms to minimize the anxiety that we're holding. So when we meet other people's needs, what it actually does is it gives us a hit of dopamine, and it also gives us a hit of purpose. So it's like, I'm doing for this other person. I feel good when I do that. But because it doesn't last long, what happens is it's just a bit of a hit. It's a coping. And so that's why it starts to build up in our system, because we're less and less nourishing ourselves. So then the anxiety generally is like hitting a point of it's amplified. So that is like, what I mean by that is we can have a window of tolerance, and it's all the way up the top of the window of tolerance. So it means that the anxiety has reached a point of getting you to listen. So it would have been really subtle there at like in other moments, and then it goes, okay, I'm going to amplify it, because it's trying to say, hey, listen. So I always look at anxiety as a signal. So it's great that you are able to make decisions now to soothe that anxiety. In terms of meeting the needs of others, often when we're growing up, we are praised to do that. So, and it also brings us connection. So we can become really, really good at meeting other people's needs. It can also be a source of safety. It creates safety to be the good girl, meet the other person's needs, be strong, be independent. It creates that safety. So when we actually are more vulnerable and lean into support, we feel unsafe, because when we were younger, it was actually unsafe to lean into that. So that's why it can be so difficult to meet our own needs when we're older. So meeting our own needs and being vulnerable could be, I'm not going to take on all the responsibility, and I'm going to ask for ask for support, and also not do everything myself. So that means that it's not all in my control. So now there are things that could go wrong along the way, like, or that the things that I've been trying to make sure it, like, you know, for instance, Belinda, an example could be for you is like, if you take control, that means, you know, you're certain that you're going to make, you know, money, right? Like, say if that was in your business before that you owned. But now there's so much uncertainty where it's like out of your control, because you know, Aaron's making his own decisions now, and you're like, oh, okay, this is vulnerable. This feels like not safe to be like this. So it can feel really unsafe when we start to lessen the control we try to have on the external, and then come back to our inner world and be more like, oh, what's it like for me here? What do I need? You know, what's happening in my system? I know I've got a client that's working on her boundaries, and she goes into a shutdown response when she expresses her boundaries, and sometimes can dissociate. That tells me that when she expressed her boundaries, it was as severe as physical punishment to express her boundaries and her needs. So we're all on a scale, depending on what happened when we were younger, when we expressed our needs and boundaries, will depend on how vulnerable we feel to be in that unknown, to be feeling vulnerable, and to be kind of working as a team with people rather than being like the leader, you know, in control, that sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions around that? Questions? Well, it sounds like you're both doing the work around this. Notice when your protector comes in, the part that wants to self-sabotage and take you back into that space. Yeah, there can be some inner work that you can do around there. And yeah, if you have any other questions, let me know. I'd love to answer those.
Thank you so much. That's been great.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so very welcome.
Yes, thank you. And I didn't actually get time to look at the other video. It was my intention today, but I ended up having to go. But I've got it, and I will look at it. And then I'll probably listen to this one again if you'll be sending it. Yeah,
fantastic. That would be great, Mandy. Do that. And I would love to hear your feedback too. If you're open to giving me some feedback on the videos of what your takeaway is, that would be awesome.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Cool. You're so very welcome. I'll see you both later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Thelma. Bye-bye.
Bye.